I'm coming to you guys today with a very heavy heart. I'm feeling some sorrow, anguish, grief, fear. I'm on my way to Aunt Sally's funeral, and I will check back in with you guys when I get there. Okay, I'm coming to you from graveside right now. They gave all the math teachers in attendance front row seats for the burial. So here, let's go take a look. Had to step over into the shade for a moment. It's really hot out here. That was about as much as I could take. But the good thing is, you know, Sally's been with us for longer than I know. But the great thing about that is she'll always be with us. Sally's not really going anywhere. She'll always be with us in math, and especially when it pertains to the order of operations. So I think, though, we have the birth of a new acronym coming to us. Well, here it is, the newborn acronym. You guys want to take a look? This is not something that's going to replace a legend like Sally. PEMDAS, never replace it, but it's still a newborn here, so let's take a look at it. Very cute. And not really new. This is something that I implemented about 10 or 11 years ago in my class. And it's not, I'm guaranteed it's not the first time that a teacher has used this particular acronym to teach order of operations. All I did was change the P to a G to represent grouping symbols. That's it. I just think, you know, it covers a more broad representation of the category instead of just being specific as to just parentheses. However, you just can't, I just don't think that Aunt Sally's truly ever going to die. But there are other ways. And what I would suggest is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, is come up with your own mnemonic device or situation that, you know, helps you remember. Whatever works for you, use it. If it can help you recall and remember how to do the order of operations, I mean, nobody's going to hold that against you. So come up with whatever you want to come up with. I know some of the ones I use, besides that, are get every medical doctor a stethoscope. That's one of them. And then get every mom or dad asparagus or spinach. Just to include the or between the A and the D and the M and the D and the A and the S. Let me slow down a little bit. But anyway, there's plenty of other situations you can come up with. So do whatever you need to do to help yourself do better and perform better on the order of operations. The G in our new acronym stands for grouping, which just indicates to do all of the grouping symbols first, such as parentheses, brackets, absolute value, and finding the square root of a number. So if you see any of those symbols that represent those situations, it just means do me first. So I'm going to give you some examples to show you when and what to do first when using the order of operations. In our first example for grouping, I have 3 plus the square root of 25. I have two different operations to simplify here. I could add, or I could find the square root first of 25. The G grouping symbols tells me that I need to do the square root first. So I need to simplify the square root of 25, which is 5. Then I would add 3 plus 5 to get 8. In our next example for grouping, I have 6 times, and then in parentheses, 8 plus 1. I should do the grouping symbols first. So find the parentheses, and within the parentheses, I have 8 plus 1, which is 9. Then I would do 6 times 9 and get 54. In our third example, I have 2 times, and then I have brackets, a set of brackets. Inside the brackets, I have 3 plus, in parentheses, 1 plus 4. That tells me I need to work from my innermost parentheses or set of grouping symbols first. Kind of like a homicide investigation, in which the focus is always on the people that are closest to the person, and then the investigation would move outward if necessary. So in this case, with grouping symbols, and we have multiple grouping symbols, we will move from the innermost grouping symbol to the outermost grouping symbol. In this case, we're going to do 1 plus 4 first and get 5. Then inside the brackets, we still have a 3 and a plus. So we're going to do 3 plus 5, and then we're going to get 8. And then last, we're going to do 2 times 8, which is 16. In my last example under grouping, I have 10 minus the absolute value of 4 minus 5. We must find the absolute value first, since that is the grouping symbol. So we do 4 minus 5, we get negative 1. Then we take the absolute value of negative 1, which is positive 1. Then we can do 10 minus 1, and our solution is 9. Now, once we've finished everything under the G, the grouping symbols, then we're going to move to the next letter in our acronym, which is E, stands for exponents. So anytime you see an exponent, it's a good idea to go ahead and solve these after you finish everything in the grouping symbols. So let's do the next one. 2 squared plus 4 squared plus 10. Any numbers that have an exponent, simplify those first. We have 2 squared, which is 4, plus 4 squared, which is 16, plus 10. Now we're ready to simplify the rest of the expression, which would be 20 plus 10, which equals 30. The next example is negative 3 plus 2 plus 4 squared. It's tempting to go ahead and do the plus first, but in this case, just go ahead and follow the order that you were given in the order of operations acronym. So let's do the 4 squared first. 4 squared equals 16. Now we're ready to do the rest of the problem. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 1 plus 16 equals 15. Once we finish all the grouping symbols and have simplified all the exponents, next we're going to move to the M and the D, which stands for multiply, divide. Which one do we do first? Well, it's like reading a book. And when you read a book, you read the sentences from left to right. So we're going to do the same thing when simplifying or solving these expressions. We're going to move from the left side of the expression to the right side, and we're going to solve whichever one comes first, moving in that direction. If multiply comes first, we're going to multiply. If division comes first, then we're going to divide. In this case, in this example, I have 10 divided by 2 times 3. It's sometimes tempting to do the 2 times 3 first, but that would be incorrect. What comes first is division. 10 divided by 2, which is 5. Next, we're going to do 5 times 3, which equals 15. And then you are done simplifying that expression in the correct order. In this example, 2 times 3 plus 4 divided by 2. We've got 3 operations. Well, right now we're on multiplying and dividing. Which one comes first, the multiplication or the division? Well, the multiplication comes first. So we are going to multiply first. So we're going to do 2 times 3, even though it's tempting to do 3 plus 4. 2 times 3 is 6. So now we have 6 plus 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 plus 2 is equal to 8. Okay, so now we're down to our last 2 letters in our acronym. A and S, addition, subtraction. Which one do we do first? We do whichever one comes first, as if we were reading a sentence in a book. So whatever is on our left if we're looking at the problem. So in this case, I have the expression negative 4 plus 2 minus 6. What do we do first? Do we add or do we subtract? Well, we add. It comes first to the left. So we're going to do negative 4 plus 2, which is negative 2. Now we're ready to subtract. Negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. And our last example is 8 minus 2 plus 1. What do we do first? Whichever one comes on the left. So we subtract. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 plus 1 equals 7. So the subtraction first, addition second on this example. Let's use the order of operations to simplify this expression. There are no grouping symbols, so we can move to check for exponents. There are also no exponents. So now we either go to multiplying or dividing. Since we multiply or divide, depending on which one comes first on the left, we will first do 14 divided by 7, which is 2. We have now simplified it to 8 plus 2 times 3 minus 5. What's our next order of operation? Since we have to multiply before we add or subtract, we must do 2 times 3, which is 6. We have now simplified the expression down to 8 plus 6 minus 5. What's our next order of operation? Since we finished all the multiplication and division, now we look for addition or subtraction, whichever one comes first on the left. 8 plus 6 is equal to 14, so we now simplify down to 14 minus 5. 14 minus 5 is our last step, which equals 9. Practice problem. Which step comes first? Look for grouping symbols. We have two different sets of grouping symbols, parentheses and absolute value. Begin with whichever one you want first. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Bring down the square with the 9. And you can also do the absolute value of negative 2, which is positive 2. Now that all grouping symbols are taken care of, what's next? Look for exponents. Here we have an exponent of 2 with the 9. 9 with the exponent of 2 equals 81. What's the next order of operation to do? Look for multiplication or division. There's 6 times 2, so you must do that first, which equals 12. The final step in this expression, using the order of operations, is 81 minus 12, which equals 69.